Have you ever wanted to raise capital, be better at negotiating, and actually understand what wholesaling real estate is? I know I did at one point, and this interview is going to knock your socks off. We are going to get into some really cool stuff today.
So the big question is this: how can we achieve financial freedom, quit the 9-to-5, and live a mighty life? That is the question, and this show will give you the answer. You are listening to The Mighty Mike Show with your host, Mighty Mike Reed.
What is up, you guys? I'm always excited to jump on here and speak to just the experts. And my guest today is Lee Nugent. Welcome to the show, Lee.
Thanks for having me, Mike. I appreciate it.
Yeah, listen, I've been looking forward to having you on. I know you booked a little while ago, and I read your bio, and I was like, yes, negotiation. Like, so many people that think they don't need a realtor. So we're gonna get into all that stuff. But firstly, just take a minute and tell us a little bit about you and your personal life.
Well, this is only going to be a 45-minute podcast, so I'll try to kind of condense it down. Back in 2015, my wife and I started investing in real estate with $6,000. And we started by purchasing rentals. Since then, it's really just kind of taken on a whole beast of its own of a machine by expanding into flips. I wholesale the deals that I don't keep myself. We're actually expanding into more wholesaling. Syndications, a few different things like that, right? So one of the things that I'm working on right now, as well as the brokerage that I own in Louisiana, the private money lending that I do, the property management company that I own. I'm a realtor in 2 states, and we have a small-ish portfolio of homes that we have for long-term rentals, some Airbnbs, and that's all I can think of right now. So yeah.
Yeah, so you're a lot like me, that we're straight into business. So you said you got a wife, you got some kiddos?
Well, I do have a daughter that lives in Louisiana. She's 15 going on 40. So, yeah.
I got one that's 11 going on 30, man. She can cook and clean, and she wants to have all the things, it's I have no doubt the next 3 years this is going to all be gray. I'm going to catch up to you, my friend.
Man, I'm telling you, my wife and I, she was talking to me the other day. She's like, if you don't like the gray, just go and dye it. And, no, I've seen those go wrong. And I would rather not have to wear that for 3 weeks.
Yeah, or have to shave it off or something crazy. That would be.
That's not an option, babe.
No, you would go with a purple beard before you'd shave it off.
Oh yeah, I'll wear it out first.
Yeah, well, definitely some good here. A lot of similarities. I look forward to doing lots of cool things with you. But let's dive into actually some of the cool things that you have going on. I really like this. Like, first of all, luxury realtor. Okay. Yeah. Be honest with me now. Okay. And I know you will, but I'm just saying, like, be like, frank with me. How much more skilled do you need to be to sell luxury real estate than you do to sell, let's say, single family home in the suburbs?
Yeah. Well, just to kind of give you some insight to it. Whenever I first switched over to England Volkers here in Florida, which is a luxury brokerage, it was explained to me because I was intimidated by moving into a luxury market, working with those high net worth individuals. And the gentleman that changed my whole dynamic on this said, luxury is in the service, not the price point. And that was really where it kind of fell in. And I started to realize, you need to give every client luxury service, whether it's a $20,000 house or a $2 million house. Yep. They all deserve the same amount. So that really kind of grounded me into realizing that it's the level of service that I need to provide my clients by mostly, really just fighting for them on their behalf to make sure that it's a win-win and they're protected.
I agree. And I can tell you from experience that myself, when I don't have any problem paying for better service. The hardest thing is when you pay for great service and you get terrible service, right? Like, you expect, it's almost like in the world, you go to a restaurant, like if it's fast food and you and your family are on the road or something, you kind of expect that the person's going to hate their job, right? Yeah. You go to a discount brokerage, you kind of expect that they're not going to give you the full service. But when you go to like a Sotheby's or, one of these kind of places, like you're saying, you expect a higher level of service. And so what I tell people, new agents that I coach, I'm like, when they're telling me, Mike, I'm having trouble getting deals, or I want to focus on luxury. It's like, whatever you're going to focus on, you got to just give them that full service treatment where you help them and treat them like you would if it was like your grandma buying a house, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You don't want to just put her in the old rickety house just to get a commission check, right? You want to
Right.
make sure that wherever they go, they're going to be happy with it. And that's the key.
I love it. So real quick, because you are an agent, I know I talk to a lot of investors and we'll get to that here in a bit, but because you are an agent, I do have a lot of people in my audience that are agents as well. Let's touch on a couple things. So my very first experience as an agent was as a buyer's agent. And I don't know what your experience with this, Lee, but it was actually very, very helpful when I learned listings to see the other side and to see, and also to appreciate the fact that it's their job to represent that buyer to try to get the best price. At the same time, you know what I mean? And at the same time, trying to get them this house with not so many defects and stuff so that they can actually move into it and live in it, right? And so what was your experience? Were you ever a buyer's agent and then went to listing, or what was your experience as an agent?
So it's kind of interesting. I actually started as an investor, right? So I started in 2015 investing, and in 2017 I got my real estate license because I was in sales, and I decided, why make commission for another company whenever I can make commission for myself? So
Yeah.
that's whenever I actually became licensed. And starting out, I was actually just my first client, right? So I was out there buying rental properties, and then other investors came along. So I was helping them purchase. So I guess you would say more so I was a buyer's agent. And then, of course, it was about 6 months later, I started picking up listings from people that were flipping, that understood, all right, I know how to comp it. I know how to set your ARV. Let's go over here. And now we're going to go on the dispo side of things as opposed to the acquisitions. And I've got to tell you, Mike, whenever I really started out, having that base of investors for clients really just helped, because I'm sure any of the realtors out there, that's the scariest thing whenever you go out on your own and there's no guarantee of any paycheck. You're going to eat what you kill. And as you can tell, I'm pretty well fed. So I enjoy, making sure that I eat, right?
Yeah.
And that being said, I identified and I worked with serious investors that weren't just going to sit there and nitpick every single thing. They understand no property is perfect, but we sat there and we got creative about making the deals happen. And that really just kind of gave me that base of about $7,000 a month. Right. And that is what gave me the confidence to start expanding more into it. So I've got to say, I was really lucky about working with buyers, investors, namely first.
I got to tell you, like investors are the easiest. Okay, so it's double-sided, right?
They
When you
can
talk,
be.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
double-sided. So when I talk to some agents that are new, or maybe even some experienced ones, well, I started with Keller Williams. It was like my first company,
me
and
too.
some said, "Oh, I hate investors. I hate investors. I hate them." And this one guy said, "What do you mean investors? They're the ones who will buy 5, 6, 10, however many deals you bring them every single year. It's a repeat customer."
Yeah.
And I was like, interesting. And so I started going to the meetups, and that's how I became an investor, a real investor. I had done a couple flips, couple things before, but never really an investor. It was more just my own personal, and so I got in there, and I realized that investors, you're not going to send them a deal and tell them it's a good deal. They're going to know if it's a good deal within a couple of seconds. The 1% rule, the cash on cash. They're gonna be able to very quickly teach you.
Yeah.
Some of my best investors who had me sell lots of properties for them is because I was so willing to learn and do things the way they wanted. They would teach me. There was this one guy, Russell. He would say, I sold a bunch of properties for him, single family homes. And he always wanted to buy things. He'd always say, Mike, find me a beachfront property. Mike, find me a mansion over here in California. He actually had me go out and try to buy a restaurant one time because it was an eyesore next to his restaurant. Like,
All right.
this was a really good client, right?
Yeah.
But so he was a pain because as a seller, he wasn't going to mess around with offers that were even remotely not like full price, full asking, where they're
Yeah.
paying for closing costs. But he was also the person who would go and buy properties and submit an offer every single day if I sent him a deal. So it's kind of like they are the best ones, because if you call an absentee owner and you say, if you could get the right price for your home, would you consider selling? It's my favorite line. They're an investor. They want to
Yeah.
eventually sell it for a profit. And if they're not ready to sell because it's rented out right now, then they will tell you when the lease is up, and they might consider in the next 8 months. Have you experienced that?
Well, it's kind of funny that you say that, because yes, right now one of my assistants, they're actually calling through a list that I gave them. It's, I don't know, 16,000 absentee owners.
Yeah.
And, it got to the point to where they were just sending me, but none of them were serious. So I actually went back and discussed, hey, look, this is how we uncover motivation. All right. It's great that you're sending these leads. However, they're not converting further into the funnel. So I would rather eliminate them at the top. And, that being said, yeah, I hope I understood your question correctly. But yeah, the sellers, they can be rather difficult and unrealistic, especially with today's market and
Yeah.
depending on the price point in that market.
Yeah, but it's funny because even though the market is the way it is, when you really if you imagine it's your property, right?
Yeah.
And they're being unrealistic about offers or about what the market will pay. As a
Yeah.
realtor, you want to come to them and educate them and say, look, your property, the market's paying XYZ for your property. And then they turn around and go, well, the property's paid off and I'm getting $2,000 a month cash for it.
Yeah.
Well, why would I sell it? And that's a great question. And so once you start
Yeah.
investing like you and I have, you understand it's like, makes sense, but you asked me to list it. So this is where you have to have those honest conversations up front.
Oh, yeah.
So a little bit about negotiation. We'll go twofold. Let's start with your own client, which I feel like we
Yeah.
negotiate with the most, right?
Yeah.
So with your own client, how do you have that conversation about, hey, look, this is too much. This is not Craigslist, like it's a car and we're posting it and someone's going to meet us halfway. Like this is not how it works in real estate.
Yeah. Well, I was actually with Keller Williams whenever I started out as well, and graduated bold 4 times. So I've got those scripts, those objection handlers and everything. And I like to go back to Diana Kokoska's approach of, if you wanted $4 for a gallon of milk, but the store across the street selling it for 2, do you think that if I go and I have a big sign pointing at my $4 a gallon of milk, that people are going to come pay for it? No, they're not. They see the sign over there that says $2 a gallon. They're going to go where the value is. So I explain that to my sellers. And quite honestly, I'll tell sellers more often, it's, hey, look, these are what the comps are. If you want to speculate some given the market and given where we're at in the price point, that's perfectly fine. However, if you're just wanting to completely blow out of the gate and set a new record for comps in the area, I'm probably not your guy. I would rather actually price it competitively and create that auction
Mhm.
effect so that we have more people coming for the property, and they're going to come and they're going to bid off of each other. They're going to raise that price up to where true market value is, right? So
Yeah.
that's typically where I have that conversation with people.
I like that. I also like the tactic of, listen, I think that's great. You're only trying to go $5,000-$10,000 over what the market is asking for. Let's do this. Let's try your way and let's put it in the contract. In the next 2
The
weeks, if we don't
reduction.
receive an acceptable offer, we're going to
Yep.
lower it. And then you don't have to have that conversation again when 2 weeks comes by and they're like, wait, what? No, you just lower it.
Yeah, exactly. And I believe in setting those expectations up front.
Yeah.
So I'll tell them, hey, look, you have to understand where the buyers are right now. A $500,000 buyer 2 years ago is not the same buyer today.
Yeah.
They've had that downward pressure on them, so now they're
Yeah.
buying in the $300,000 range. So with that being said, and I'm sure that you understand that the higher the price point, the less buyers in those price points,
Yep.
because we don't have that many earners, right? So what would you do? If you were buying a home right now, where would you be competing? You're competing below where you're trying to target. So you're just not going to attract those buyers. And the
Yeah.
buyers in the price point that you're overshooting for, well, they're a little bit more discerning, and they're going to go to another neighborhood, or they're going to go to a spot that has more amenities than what your house has for what you're asking. So
Mhm.
a lot of the times, I just find that having that upfront conversation with people, Even sometimes, whenever they go with another agent because they didn't go to me, it's okay because I've also learned that not all business is good business.
Yeah, that's true, especially when they're called. We were talking about it before the show of somebody who wants me to jump through hoops just to have a conversation with them on the phone. It's like at some
Yeah,
point, it's like, what is your time worth? What is your sanity worth? But I think
yeah,
what you're saying, what I take from what you're saying is that to become the trusted advisor, sometimes you have to say no,
yeah,
right? You have to say no because it actually builds credibility with you. When I that guy Russell, I think the reason why the seller Russell, I think the reason why he trusted me so much is because I would tell him, okay, I see what you're saying, but I would push back on him anytime I thought that he might be in the wrong.
yeah,
So he'd come back and go, I see what you're saying, but what about this? Like him and I almost invested in a fourplex together, and I had all the numbers right. All the numbers. It was perfect deal. We were going to make about $1,200 a month, between the two of us together. So we split about 600 a month.
yeah.
And he looked over the deal, not more than like 5 minutes. He sent back an email, said, call me. And so I called him and he said, Mike, have you looked at the millage rates on the taxes once we purchased the property? And I was like, no, actually. He's like, the last time it was purchased for $100,000. We're going to buy it for 400,000. What do you think the taxes are going to be? And so I
Crippling the
looked it
cash
up.
flow.
Yeah, I looked it up. Sure enough, the millage rates had gone up,
Yeah,
and the new tax rates for the property taxes had gone up, literally from $1,500 a year to almost $7,000 a year, basically killing our cash flow. And he's like, Mike, I would rather buy another 7-Eleven than buy this property.
I can't say I blame you.
Yeah, no, he's a good businessman. That's what I was saying. Like, if you want to become a better agent, right? Buyer or listing. You want to become a better agent, work with investors because
Yeah,
they're at the end of the day, the stake they put on their table is made by the decisions that they make on a daily basis. And so I like that. And that's how it is as an agent too. We eat what we kill, right?
absolutely. And one of the things that, if you can't tell, I might live in Florida now. However, my accent betrays me a lot of the times. I'm actually from Louisiana. And
Okay.
one of the things, whenever I'm looking at a property, you'll just hear me say, no, that dog won't hunt, which means that it's not a deal, so kill it. Let's go.
That
Actually,
dog won't.
I finished a wholesale challenge where I was teaching some people how to wholesale. And as it came back around to me, they brought me a deal, what they thought was a deal. And, I explained to them and I gave them this lengthy email that really kind of broke down the thought process why it wasn't there. And I just ended it with that dog won't hunt. And I hit send and just let it go. So now they call me up and they're like, I think I have one that will. So
I think I got a dog that'll hunt. I got a
yeah,
hound dog. That's
yeah,
funny.
exactly.
That's good. So if you're an agent, you just got some major value, but let's transition into investing and real estate investing. What do you prefer to do? I know you've gotten real good at wholesaling, right?
Hmm. I mean, I'm not the best out there. However, I understand the concept behind it. It's to me, it's really not much different than just being an investor that's going to buy or flip for yourself. You just take it one
Right.
step further and assign that interest in the contract. I will say that my one of my assistants brought me a sweetheart of a deal earlier this year. This was a few months ago. They brought the deal to me. The seller was motivated. They Let me just go ahead and back it up. The house was worth 615 on the conservative side. The seller wanted 340. I walked it. It's about 100,000 in rehab. Huge house, 3,200 square feet. And
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I tell you, you want 340. I can give you 330 cash and it will close in 30 days. And he said, all right, let's go. Well, I was going to flip it for myself. And then I was actually going to JV with another investor in the area. He's just a really cool guy. We started diving in, looking at the carrying costs and everything. And well, that dog wouldn't hunt. So by the time we sat there and looked at everything and we would have split the profit, it wasn't going to be enough to really incentivize us. So I told him, I said, look, I was going to wholesale this to this other company that we were going to flip in anyway. And I took my assignment. I said, look, why don't I just take this assignment? And then if you want to list it with me, because he's also a realtor, I said, co-list it with me whenever you hit the market with it. That'd be great. And I'll let you just take the profit on it. Well, I still made a $50,000 assignment. So I wasn't mad about it. right? So I will say
Dang,
that
poor
yes,
guy.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it wasn't a bad day, but since then I've done three $10,000 assignments, just some smaller
Mhm,
projects that, I wasn't going to end up keeping for myself, but I knew other investors that are more aggressive than me. I'm
mhm.
very conservative whenever I make my offers. I can give you some examples of that if you'd like later, but
Yeah.
let's just say that there are a lot of people that would pay more than what I do. And
Mm,
that's okay. It's just that for us to have built what we've built from a $6,000 investment, it had to be done conservatively and aggressively at the same time. So aggressive on terms, conservative on estimates, right? And that's just where we operate. So a lot of the times, these investors that I work with, they're more than happy to pick up these projects that I'm passing on, just simply because I might allow too much for variance, or for these contingencies that other people are completely comfortable with and their risk tolerance to accept.
mm. So, okay, let's break that down just a little bit. First thing I wanna know, and this is like and I know the answer to this, and I'm always beating the drum about this, but I wanna know how you would say it or what your opinion is. I talk to a lot of agents
Yeah.
that they're just uninformed. Like, what would you say to the agent out there that says wholesaling is illegal?
Wholesaling is, well, depends on the state, your definition, and if you're an attorney, right? If you're an attorney, then by all means, you can declare whatever you want. But I can go out here and tell you that the sky is green, but that doesn't make it true. So is wholesaling illegal? No. Are there restrictions coming in various states for wholesaling?
Mhm.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, Louisiana, they're working on some legislation right now for wholesalers, not
Yep,
to where you have to become a licensed realtor in order to do it. However, they do want to put some guidelines in place. And I understand the concept, right? Because
yeah,
there are some shady people out there that will really do people wrong, given the leadway to go do it.
yeah,
But that being said, no, it's not. Otherwise, would these title companies allow you to assign your contract? You are simply securing an equitable interest in the contract, and then you are assigning that equitable interest out.
yeah,
That's all that you're doing. You're not selling a house. If I wasn't a licensed realtor and I had a contract and I was selling that contract, yet I went online and I started marketing to investors saying, hey, I'm selling this house. Yeah, all right, you could get me for practicing real estate without a license. However, it's in the wording. Devil's in the details. We learned that in real estate school. They don't teach you anything about selling real estate, but they teach you the legalities of it, right?
yeah, yeah,
Is that you have to watch the wording. So long as you're out here and you're wording it correctly and you're using the proper documents, the assignment clause and everything else, I I feel like you're well within your rights to do so. As a matter of fact, I've taught people how to wholesale. So if I saw where that was going to be a conflict, I simply wouldn't do it.
yeah. I remember in real estate school, one of the things they taught us in Florida was if you it's illegal for you to disclose the motivation of your seller.
Yeah.
And
Seller's
and
got a
as
crack habit, needs to sell today. Don't do that.
the yeah, the and it's funny because as right now as a investor, primarily that's what I do now is investing,
Yeah.
finding deals, wholesaling, and then putting the cash into multifamily, right? That's what we do. And I run into situations where I'm like, how can I make sure this doesn't go public, just to make sure nobody's like, hey, where's he have a license? And so that's interesting. It's a good conversation to have.
Yeah.
And Pace, one of my coaches, Pace Morby, he actually in one of his private videos, he actually said in one of the coachings, he said, guys, whether you like it or not, every wholesaler will need to be licensed in the next 5 or 10 years to be a part of a real estate transaction. Now, every state's going to be different, like you said, but it makes sense because oftentimes what you're doing is you're having a conversation as an investor, but then you're getting a contract to buy that you're then selling the contract to some. You're involved in a what's called a what is it called? Is a community interest.
Mm.
And when you're and especially when you're cold calling hundreds and hundreds of people, it's very similar to just the cold calling laws, right? They're like they'll
Yeah.
only let you cold call certain people, and if they're on the do not call list, you can't call. Again, it's a community thing, protection.
And only under certain pretenses. So you can't cold call to solicit, you can do so to, and all right, before we go any further, I'm not an attorney. I'm
Yeah.
not a tax professional. Anything that you hear me say is just a country boy from Louisiana that does not hunt or fish. All right. I only
Yeah.
have an accent. So that being said, whenever somebody's going out here to do these deals, can spam and everything else applies. I actually know one realtor that whenever they do their cold calling, they phrase it as a survey because it's completely legal to make calls, cold calls about surveys. So
Mm,
they'll actually go there and have you thought about selling your home lately? And then they start phrasing all that. And it's in a way, it's genius. However, for me, that's not anything that hits my value box. So, you
mm,
know, I've worked on building a brand and a reputation to where people more so come to me, right? And I
mm.
don't have to go out there and hunt for all of that. And my focus is taking me down different paths. So that being said, yes, I'm still a realtor and I still, prospect. However, my prospecting is more so networking and building relationships now rather than just hitting the phones. Thankfully, I'm in a position in my life to where I can hire that out. So I do.
Yeah. And cold calling is one of the ways I always tell people when you're first getting started, like call a list of
Yeah.
people who are already doing deals. Like if a new agent's doing open houses, I know some people that hate on open houses, but I'm like, you want a list of 5 or 10 or 20 people, buyers that are actually going out and looking at houses that may be pre-approved. Like go contact a local listing agent and say, hey, I want to do all your open houses. I want to do an open house every day of the week.
Yeah.
Right. It's free leads. And it's like one of the best ways to get
Your
started
fastest way
anyway.
to make money as a new agent is to secure buyers. And
Yeah.
getting there, getting them to know, like, and trust you to take some of Tom Ferry's genius there,
Yeah.
is starts by meeting them, right? And I think that there's so many agents that unfortunately, and if you're a brand new agent in 2023 and you just got licensed, I wish you the absolute best. Good luck, stay at it. Just do me a favor. Don't make one post on social media and expect the doors to just burst open with business, right? You've got to put in work. As a matter of fact, Sunday, I did an open house. I'm doing another open house Sunday, or this coming Sunday. Why? Because, well, even in a slow open house, if I'm not sitting there and networking and building those contacts, well, I've still got the MLS at my fingertips. I'm looking for deals during the open houses. So to me, it's a lot better than just sitting in your home office, to prospect. Prospect at an open house. And when somebody comes in, get up, greet them, build a rapport, secure contact information, convert your clients. I
Yeah.
think that so many people just they overthink things. And God knows I'm guilty of that too. But yeah, I would say that especially if most of your audience is primarily realtors, don't be afraid to get out there and do an open house.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of them are investors, but what I'm trying to do is a lot of realtors I know would make better investors. Like
Oh, absolutely.
they're just not good with people. Like go build network with people, right? Introverts can go network with people. Some of the best investors I know are introverts because they want to sit down and they want to like crunch the numbers and they want to think about it. And that's what you have to do in order to really think about the returns. Are we in a trough market? Are we in a rising market? What kind of financing am I going to get? Like that's real estate investing. And you
Yeah.
network with people. Once I meet Lee Nugent, now all of a sudden I don't have to go meet 50 other people that may be in real estate. I
You
know
just need to know
Lee.
the guy that knows the guy.
Yeah, yeah, and so it's so powerful. So I don't we're running out of time, so I actually wanna get to what you're most fired up about. What are you working on right now that has you most fired up?
I've got to say, right now, private money lending has taken more of a front seat for me in our businesses. I'm getting approached by more and more investors looking to secure funding because they understand that certain deals I provide 100% of the transaction. I'll do the purchase and the rehab, and I'll structure it out. So with that, it's grown so much that I actually have a call this evening with an attorney to get all of the fund documents sorted out and start really moving into that space to where I can take on more liquid investors that want to invest into a pool of money for me to lend out and start getting that rate of return for them. And I've got to say that I really like that, because
That's
that's
exciting.
where the introvert comes in, like you just talked about. I get to sit there and structure these deals and analyze and get into the numbers. Because even though I can go and I've done this before, I'll get on stage and I'll speak in front of 100 people, do a seminar. By the time that is done, I'm done for the day. Like I come home and I mean, I shut
Me
myself
too.
down.
Yeah.
My wife knows, like, no, that's my recharge time. So I enjoy that because I don't have to be front stage. I can do it because I know that you have to be able to do that sometimes. But I think that does feed the introvert side of me. So yeah, the private money lending and growing that has really been a passion of mine.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Understanding yourself and what your greatest strengths are, and then focusing on that, and things start to fall in line. Like, first of all, I'll go out on a limb here, but I want to say you're going to live longer, right?
I
Less
hope so.
stress.
Yeah.
Okay, doing with the things that you actually enjoy doing is really powerful. So let's so at what point are you going to be ready to start lending out? Do you want to give your email out, or are you not
Yeah.
ready for that?
So
Yeah.
I currently do loans. So, it's
Okay.
just that I only have so much to do right now. It's just I'm working to obtain more capital to work with. But if you want, you can go to dot cards /RE with Lee. And that's where you'll see all of my social media platforms. If you like memes, follow me on Facebook. If you like corny TikToks, follow me there. So I would say just kind of check me out there. There's even a few forums you can go to request the private money, and all of my contact information is there.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. I
Yeah,
mean,
Mike.
listen, anytime you can like meet somebody new that's really crushing it in the industry is good for me. That's is the selfish part of the show for me. But then there's this whole other side, which I think is really cool, where you get people, just even if it's 1, 2, 3, even 10 people who see
Yeah,
this video and they actually go out and take action and like, wow, wholesale's, he sounds like he's, wholesale's not that hard. Maybe I will learn it. Oh, I didn't know that it wasn't illegal. Let me research more about my state if it's something I can do as a realtor, right? It's just
exactly.
so powerful. So what is your parting piece of advice for that person who's just getting started in investing? And where would you send them?
Uh, I would send you to Bigger Pockets. I would send you to YouTube. Whenever I started investing, it was after spending about 3 months of analyzing videos on YouTube. And then finally, the thing is, you have to understand that no matter where you're at, you're not going to know it all. You just have to understand that you know enough to take action. And then also get involved with your local real estate meetups, network with these people, and see if you can exchange your time for their knowledge. And let me tell you, that is powerful. I've had a few people come up to me at these meetings that now work with me. And it's because they're willing to trade their time, which is the one thing that I value the most. So if somebody can alleviate my time, the demands on my schedule, I'm all about it. Look, let's work together and do what we can. So if
That's
you're a new investor, get out there, follow that. But most importantly, take action. That's the biggest thing. And I'm sure that it's redundant by now. However, even small action, that's progress. And you just have to focus on doing that a little bit every day.
that's good. That's good. Thank you for that advice. Guys, if you are just ready to go out and crush it, you wanted that next step that you could take, you can actually get my book, Lee. I just finished writing the last chapter, Finding Motivated
Congratulations.
Sellers. Yeah, it's super exciting. It's a little bit nerve-wracking because I'm like, I could just put so much more into this, but you have to eventually publish it. So it's been a while. So finding motivated sellers and closing the deal.
Yeah.
Essentially, a lot of people just don't know what list to call. Lee, do you remember when you first started?
Yeah, I do.
What
And
did someone tell you to call expires or what?
oh, let me tell you, they were just saying get out there and make a mess and then come back so we can clean it up. And
Oh, that's actually good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was the thing. That's where really, I've got to say that's the key is to take action, even if you mess it up. Understand that there are people willing to help you and that want to see you succeed.
Yep.
So they will help you clean this up, but you've got to get out there and be willing to put yourself out there first. And I'll make you a deal, Mike. You send me a copy of your book, I'll send you a copy of mine.
Okay, good deal. I'm excited. Yeah, listen, you guys go out there, crush it, and until next time. Oh, actually, well, I'll put all your contact info in the show notes.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds great, Mike. I appreciate you.
Awesome. All right, you guys. Well, we will see you guys on the next episode. Go out there and crush it and live a mighty life.
Oh, dang.
Take care, man.
All right.
For more great content like this and your chance to win cash prizes each week live online, visit www.mightymikereed.com. That's www.mightymikereed.com. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite audio platform. Until next time, take care and live mighty.